Through the cheater's surveillance lenses, you and I are about to witness real heartbreak, filmed live, documenting the raw pain of a faithful partner shattered by brutal infidelity. This broadcast is dedicated to the loyal and presented to those with false hearts, hoping to encourage a renewal of temperance and honesty.
Coming up on this dramatic episode of Cheaters.
This has to be a joke. It's not supposed to be like this. Who the fuck is that, bro? What the fuck are you doing here? You're supposed to be at work. Wait, guy. Yo, wait. Real reality television is brought to you by the private eyes at Cheaters Detective Agency. Host Peter Pankey returns to the scene for another explosive, heartbreaking installment of Cheaters. Our investigation centers on our client Pedro Green, a local DJ whose world is spinning, fearing his girlfriend lost the rhythm, anxious about his lover's growing coldness and indifference. Pedro finally gathers the courage to meet with our team. Veronica and I actually first met at one of her big fashion shows. You know I DJ, and she models. So I got called in for a gig there, and I was just sitting there spinning tracks. And I spot this absolutely stunning girl. So obviously afterwards, I walked right up to her and said, hey, making small talk. And we instantly clicked. Things have been going really well since then. We've been together for 9 months. Then, about 3 months ago, we finally moved in together. Veronica moved in. She was telling me her lease was up, so I told her to come by. She was looking for a new place, so I just said, come live with me. She said she didn't know, that maybe it was a bit too soon. I assured her it was okay, because I truly love Veronica. There is zero doubt about that. I sincerely saw that love in her eyes. But lately, it's entirely different now. Suspect Veronica Steele, age 27. A fashion model accused of merely posing as a faithful girlfriend. Once the alert comes in from headquarters, field investigators quickly assemble outside the apartment Veronica shares with Pedro. Detectives soon spot an unknown male arriving directly on the scene. As the mysterious man approaches the building, suspect Veronica Steele warmly greets him with open arms. The cozy pair jumps into Steele's SUV and quickly speeds off. A few miles down the road, the suspicious twosome arrives at a nearby apartment complex. After parking, the secret couple strolls together toward a quiet, picturesque picnic area. They find a secluded table overlooking the lake. You and I can clearly watch Steele slide into her companion's lap for some incredibly flirty fun. Today, you and I watched the canoodling combo walk off. Our investigators track the twosome back to the suspect's apartment, where the pair shares a sensitive squeeze. Right before the companion rides his steel horse off into the sunset. A week or two after the couple moved in, a weird situation happened when Steele told Pedro, she was heading to a fashion show. She leaves and he minds his business. He was on his phone just scrolling down the screen. He saw the fashion show was canceled, posted for 2 hours, yet she had been gone for 1. She comes home, greeting him like nothing ever happened, saying, hey babe. He casually asked how her time was. She claimed it was great, that she had fun and met many people. Lots of fashion, plenty of interaction, endless networking, and so on. Pedro was looking at her, trying to hold a somewhat normal and composed face to match the blatant lie she was telling right to his face. Detectives once again post up outside the suspect and client's residence. Suspect Steele Swain, now identified as Cody Jones, meets up with his mistress, and after a quick hug hello, they take off. About 2 miles down the road, the couple arrives at a popular coffee chain to spend some cash. Upon ordering their caffeinated confections, the twosome decides to lap up their lattes al fresco, making sweet eyes across the table. These two appear worlds away from this suburban sprawl. Snapped back to reality by Pedro's impending arrival home, the cheating duo departs, landing back at Steele's complex. The lovebirds saunter side by side to her door, where they share one final, lingering embrace. Pedro noticed that her smartphone was always placed face down. She was going out constantly, supposedly, with the girls, leaving him feeling pretty hurt. He felt completely stuck in a state of limbo.
He kept telling himself that everything was okay.
He was deeply confused and completely unsure of his position. He wanted to be wrong. Knowing Pedro was safely out of town, investigators set a perimeter around the apartment. You and I spot companion Jones pulling up on his crotch rocket. As Jones makes his way to the door, we see suspect Steele anxiously awaiting his arrival. Later, outside on the balcony, suspect Steele, now dressed in her robe, enjoys a quick post-coital pick-me-up. Her Romeo soon joins his Juliet, and the young lovers caress, basking in the sweet glow of amore.
Having satisfied their basic instincts,
Steele escorts her inamorato outside, where they share one last, lingering kiss goodbye. Stick around for the explosive confrontation. Solid proof of Veronica's undeniable guilt. The investigators called Pedro in to reveal the painful truth. Let's examine the cheating footage, spinning on a loop. Pedro braced his heart for the ultimate betrayal.
Pedro,
The host greeted him. He nodded, looking nervous. He struggled to find the words. He knew why they were meeting. Pedro explained he just needed to find out what was really going on. The host mentioned Pedro's lingering suspicions about Veronica. Pedro had asked the cheater's detectives to monitor her, though he desperately hoped the entire investigation would just turn out to be a massive misunderstanding. He accepted reality, admitting it was much better to finally uncover the ugly truth than to remain completely in the dark about his relationship. The host pulled up footage from the very first day. They showed an apartment complex, and Pedro immediately recognized the building on the screen. The video zoomed in on an unknown man wearing a bright red shirt. He opened the door, and out walked Veronica. Pedro recognized her instantly as the surveillance team continued trailing the couple. The crew followed them to a completely different apartment complex, watching as they parked right near a bench. Watch closely. This gets very interesting. Pedro watched his girlfriend sit right on the stranger's lap. Pedro groaned softly. She ran her fingers through his hair. It was painfully hard to watch. Intimate. Pedro initially tried denying the awful truth, but deep down, he always knew she was hiding something. He felt the betrayal coming, but never expected it to look like this. The host reminded Pedro that he had contacted the show precisely because he suspected something was wrong. Pedro sighed. The footage continued rolling, clearly showing Veronica sitting on the other man's lap and passionately kissing him. After hugging closely, the cheating couple headed back inside the apartment. Pedro was furious they did this right at his house, completely without any shame. He found her blatant lack of respect deeply disturbing and incredibly insulting to their entire relationship. They acted like he didn't even live there, which drove him absolutely crazy. The team then revealed Day 2's footage, filmed right outside Pedro's house, once again. The other guy pulled up, delivering what Pedro called the ultimate level of disrespect. They took off. They hopped in the car and arrived at a local coffee shop. They walked out and sat outside, looking completely relaxed together. You and I are about to hear her blatant lie. He said hello. He calmly asked exactly where she was. Veronica lied smoothly, claiming she was getting coffee with her mom. Pedro played along quietly, absorbing it. Let's watch this nightmare unfold together. He told her he was leaving work, casually fishing for her exact location. He just muttered, "Oh, all right then." He said he would head home shortly, acting like everything was perfectly fine. He promised to meet her there. They exchanged their quick, fake goodbyes. Peter promised the boyfriend he wasn't the first man to walk down this painful road. Peter admitted it happened to him. He stated, "Betrayal happens to the absolute best of guys." The boyfriend asked to see more. They kept watching. The pair walked right into his apartment. Moments later, the guilty couple stepped right out onto the balcony. Seeing her in a robe, he completely broke down in absolute denial and shock. He stammered in shock, crying that things were never supposed to go this way. He was entirely speechless. The crew finally parked right outside his very own beautiful apartment complex. Peter explained their next move was to jump into the surveillance van. They called the investigator. The strategy was to pinpoint their exact location and roll up on him. Peter told him to stay strong. It was time to move in and get those hard answers. Pedro, It was just the usual grim routine. The targets were close. Peter verified the guy had faked the work shift. He confirmed it, meaning his girlfriend remained totally clueless he was off tonight. The couple was currently at the complex. The investigator had just spotted the two of them exiting a local store. The television crew tried tracking their exact movements when something suddenly caught the host's attention. "Stick with me, this gets crazy." Peter advised the boyfriend to demand the truth and let the ensuing chaos just happen. They hit the scene completely ready to demand some real answers. Peter directly confronted the startled suspects. He announced he was with cheaters. The other guy instantly panicked, aggressively demanding to know why the boyfriend was standing there. He shouted angrily, telling the other man to get up immediately. Amid the intense chaos, Peter calmly reminded everyone about the television crew. The furious boyfriend screamed at his girlfriend, asking what was mentally wrong with her. She screamed right back, harshly declaring that she simply did not want him anymore. He blasted her for doing absolutely nothing while sleeping comfortably in his own house. She snapped back, arguing he should be at his job instead of stalking her around. Peter yelled for everyone to stop. He ordered the furious group to hold on. Someone screamed to let the guy go. "You won't believe this wild conclusion." The caught cheater pathetically stumbled over her failing, useless excuses. The toxic argument raged on both sides, furiously screaming over who was actually in the wrong here. "Watch this with me." The cornered man immediately started begging. Pedro screamed at the stranger sitting beside his own girlfriend. The terrified guy mumbled a defense. He stammered frantically, trying to cool off the sudden hostile trap. Pedro turned to Veronica furiously, demanding to know the truth. The host explained that Pedro had called their team. Pedro knew he was being completely disrespected by her. They had been fighting endlessly about her cheating at his apartment. The new guy stood up aggressively, telling Pedro to back off. He stepped forward loudly, demanding to know who Pedro thought he was. The two men angrily shoved each other. Pedro was baffled, yelling that he thought she was safe at home. He assumed she had stayed right at his own apartment. The rival coldly taunted him, bragging that he was the one there. The screaming match grew louder as both men got dangerously close. Pedro completely lost his temper, demanding to know what was happening. He cursed at the stranger before turning to confront his cheating girlfriend. Veronica panicked, frantically swearing to Pedro that the guy meant absolutely nothing. Pedro was crushed, reminding her exactly how deeply he genuinely cared. He asked why she betrayed him, but the rival interrupted. Veronica confessed she just did not know what to say. It made zero sense to Pedro. She only cared about herself. He cursed bitterly. The new guy told her to leave Pedro forever. She eagerly agreed to it. The rival smirked. He looked right at Pedro. He told Pedro to accept his bitter defeat. Suddenly, the angry rival lunged wildly at the startled camera crew. The host desperately stepped in, ordering him to stop attacking them. He scolded Veronica for her blatant, shameless infidelity. The furious man ordered the cameras away from him. Things quickly turned physical between the two guys. They tangled up violently, shouting and shoving each other away. Security immediately jumped in roughly, pulling the raging men apart before the fight escalated further. The chaotic struggle spilled out across the busy street. Pedro kept screaming, demanding to know why this cruel betrayal was happening. Everyone was completely losing their minds. The host finally managed to pause the violent brawl. "Let's watch this closely." The host made Veronica choose her man. Without hesitation, she chose the new guy, prompting security to yell out. Guards ordered Pedro to stand down as his heart completely broke. Pedro was trapped in pure denial, rejecting her cold words. The new boyfriend violently smacked the camera lens one last time. Someone shouted a warning as a heavy punch finally connected. "Watch." The boyfriend confronted the other man. Things quickly got crazy. The other guy told him to back off, since she had made her choice. Tensions in the room boiled over. "Let's watch this double loss unfold." He screamed at Veronica to move the cameras. She refused to talk, confirming over and over that she wanted the other man instead. He angrily ordered his cheating partner to pack up. He called her useless, demanding she pack her things and permanently get out of his house. He wanted Veronica gone for good right then. The alibis fell apart as they argued over who was actually supposed to be working. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He demanded to know why she brought a strange guy into the home they shared. She confessed she wanted to hurt him. Even knowing his past failed relationships, bystanders wondered why she didn't just tell him the truth. He kept asking why the other guy was there. She claimed she tried explaining, but he refused to listen. She claimed he was always begging her back. Wait. The furious boyfriend swatted at the lenses. He shoved past the film crew, demanding the camera operators get out of his way. You and I are probably wondering why he would even fight for her. It made absolutely no sense to fight over her. She was literally sleeping with another dude in his own bed during this whole fight. His friends urged him to stay strong. They told him to find a better woman. The heartbroken guy simply couldn't handle it. He paced erratically, admitting he just didn't want to be alone after dealing with this betrayal. The investigator noted that both of them were bugging. She had confessed right in front of everyone. Right in front of the entire television production crew. She clearly wanted to rock with the other guy, leaving the team wondering what to do. The camera crew agreed they needed a quick pause. Everyone needed a second to process the chaos. The traumatic situation was becoming too much for him. A friend stepped up to support his deeply heartbroken buddy. He offered his full support. He begged the crew to back off and get the bright lights out of his face. They begged for a break from the cameras, promising to resume the shoot in a minute. The team agreed to give the devastated guy a minute. The crew ordered the harsh camera lights cut down for a minute. The host redirected the cameras. The victim wandered off blindly, completely unsure where to go next. His loyal buddy insisted they go sit down somewhere quiet, grab some cold beers, and talk it over. He refused to let his friend walk away in such a crushed, vulnerable state. Let's watch and see if he gets through this. The host promised they'd pull through together. He refused to leave her behind like that. He gently reminded her that this was his job. But somehow, he was taking this particular case personally. She was coming with him. He needed to toughen her up. The Creep Squad. With the brutal confrontation finished, Pedro sorted through the records of his harsh reality. Later on, you and I will see what he salvages. But right now, Lamar, a former suspect, finally owns up to his toxic actions. The target returns to share his wild experience on the show. Lamar struggled for words, speechless, the pure terror. During the explosive confrontation, he was wildly frantic and panicking. He just couldn't believe it. Absolute, utter disbelief. She furiously demanded entry. She desperately screamed for someone to yank the door open. Someone yelled out. She kept demanding access. She falsely promised she was completely calm to get inside. Nobody bought her calm act, while she viciously pounded glass. The host urged the terrified driver to just unlock it. The cornered cheater frantically refused to unlock the car doors. He begged them to listen desperately, repeating that this messy situation was absolutely not what it looked like. The host angrily questioned his motives, pleading with him to roll the window down just a tiny fraction. She screamed he should be working, while he stubbornly swore he was. Let's pause here. The mistress had absolutely zero clue about his girlfriend of over a year. Lamar claimed he knew nothing bad about stepping out on his girlfriend, completely dodging the hard questions. He stumbled badly, completely unable to provide a straight answer. He tried rationalizing that his toxic choices were just meant to better himself and Cynthia, so he refused to even consider his guilt. Just because he had another woman, having a side piece didn't necessarily mean he was officially cheating. He shamelessly stammered. He insisted they never slept together, despite the host reminding him cameras were rolling. The host grilled him about those missing days and the mysterious woman's true identity. When pressed about the woman in the footage, he played dumb and denied everything. The host flashed the hard evidence, forcing him to face reality. He reminded Lamar about those secret nights they spent hiding in that hotel room. He detailed how Lamar brought her downtown, outlining the cozy walk they took together. He commanded him to stop claiming the side piece was his cousin. He mentioned the white truck, aggressively demanding that the endless lies stop. Now let's unpack this bizarre gun situation together. You and I can clearly see he knew his actions were a terrible, entirely wrong move. But during that chaotic moment, he felt entirely startled, acting purely out of blind panic. He simply wanted his relationship back, fully recognizing how foolish his reaction truly was. Right then, his overwhelming anxiety had completely taken over. Surrounded by rolling cameras and absolute strangers, the intense situation simply became far too much for him. The tense confrontation exploded into chaos. When onlookers spotted a drawn gun, panic set in as bystanders noticed the deadly firearm. Terrified voices begged him to drop the weapon. Amidst the screaming, the crew frantically demanded that he put the weapon away. The crew warned him everything was on camera, desperately questioning what kind of weapon he held. Surrounded by the crowd, he was sternly warned not to try anything stupid. Security forced him to the ground, aggressively demanding he empty the bullets from the firearm. Following the intense ordeal, his entire attitude finally shifted. He later confessed that the dramatic incident made him view situations with far more sensitivity than before. The devastating betrayal and ensuing chaos left him feeling incredibly cautious. He drastically changed how he handles his business now. He fully realizes now that his reckless, desperate actions could have left innocent people severely injured. Pedro Grimes displays the raw heartbreak of a man completely at the end of his rope. Crushed by Veronica's dark truth, Pedro decides to focus his healing energy entirely within. He is taking time to travel and rediscover himself. Pedro proudly affirms his deep desire to reconnect spiritually and finally discover his own personal path. Meanwhile, Veronica Steele explains she cannot pinpoint exactly when their romance died. She confirms feeling much happier with Mr. Jones, freely admitting the immense pain she deliberately caused Pedro. Calling it inexcusable, she still could not tell our producers any clear plans to make proper amends. When contacted, Cody Jones bluntly told cheaters he claimed he thought the relationship was over, telling the devastated boyfriend to finally get a grip. You and I know if you don't get your programming from Goldstein's, then we will both lose money.